total chaos. Now, he could probably learn how to recognize after a while, you see. And he might and it would, like it affects most people, if he got himself into the sort of the brash, bopping, rocking mood, he could probably relate to that music. Eventually, it might have an effect on him. But and I think there's a cultural thing about this. Some cultures, you know, you play some foreign music and it does sound kind of incomprehensible. Not because they're incapable of understanding it, just because they have such little familiarity with it, and and music has not prompted them to explore those particular emotional pathways in their being. Well, let's go back. We're going to listen to something that's music at the very edge. Please don't tell my mom that I arranged this one, okay? All right. All right. What song is that? Jesus Loves. You did recognize it, right? The scary thing about doing that particular arrangement of Jesus Loves Me was, frankly, how easy it was to do. I used a particular well-known rhythmic pattern to start with. I layered that on some very dissonant intervals on keyboard. I used some other timbre, something that sounded a little bit like a pickaxe hitting a rock face. You might have heard that. I used this thing of sort of like a breathing or something, okay? I put the melody, you know, on minor seconds. All right. It was very loud. I played that song to a teenage girl, just out of the blue. I said, hey, you know, what does this make you think about? I played it for her. She said, well, you know, it's kind of weird. She says, I was kind of thinking in my mind about this guy. Well, I thought, okay, well, so far that's fairly normal, teenage girl. You know, yeah. And she said, well, it's like it was a guy, and he had just been captured by a tribe of cannibals. And they'd kind of tied him all up and everything, and they were getting ready to roast him. You know, that's what she started thinking about, sort of cold coming in. Now, my purpose, what I tried to do in that arrangement was to create a feeling of horror. All right? I didn't really have the nerve to go ahead and finish. I just did the verse, not the chorus, okay? Because I was kind of scared at the results. But I knew what kind of ingredients I needed to use to create a horrible feeling. And this kind of music, actually, there are radio stations that play a pretty steady diet of this kind of music. This music is so edgy that it can push you over the brink fairly quickly. You would not really be in a very normal mood if you stuck your headphones on and listened to music like that for 15, 20 minutes or so. Well, let's go back to some questions here. What is the difference between good and bad music anyway? Okay? And we're not talking about, quality of performance and all that kind of stuff. Somebody might suggest, well, there is no such thing as good and bad music. I mean, tell me what's wrong with middle C. Well, probably Jesus sang middle C at some point in his life, Nothing's wrong with middle C. Remember our definition of music: a planned sequence of sounds. And we plan our sequence of sounds in order to convey something. And people have learned, just like, I couldn't really tell you why this induced a feeling of horror, but I knew from my own experience of hearing things and analyzing what was going on, that I thought, if I put these things together, I think I have a pretty good idea if this is going to make a really horrible feeling. I don't have to know why it works. I just have to know that it works. And you don't have to know why it works or that it works, because it's going to work on you. All right? Well, the difference between good and bad music, I would say, is what it does to you. It doesn't do something good to you. It does do something bad to you. And again, what do we mean by good and bad? Well, does it encourage your love, joy, peace, long-suffering? Long-suffering, we said now, not long-surfeiting. We said joy. We didn't say jive. Okay? Goodness, not giddiness, You get the idea. There's another aspect, too, that's troubling. I call it the great disconnect. Contemporary Christian music, much of it, not all of it. Again, there's a continent of music out there. But what is getting a lot of the play, a lot of the prominence, tends to be partake of what I call the great disconnect. Now, I don't usually do this because I don't like, peer pressure and all that kind of thing. But after all, you're my peers, right? So what we're going to do, I'd like to have everybody stand, and we're going to just do a little thing here. Okay, I would suggest to you that much contemporary Christian music can actually be summarized or capsulized in one syllable, stated two different ways. And I'll show you, and then you try it out. Okay, here's one way. The syllable, by the way, is ooh. Okay, one way is ooh, ooh. Everybody ready? Ooh, ooh. Not bad. Okay, you're getting in the worshipful mode there. Okay, the other one is is ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, everyone try that. Ready? Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, great. Okay, you've redeemed yourself from your low score on the spiritual aptitude test. You may be seated. Now, didn't you feel dumb? I mean, kind of felt dumb, right? Okay. Well, what I'm wanting to indicate is that it seems like much of what is being offered to us as Christian consumers is a choice of either ecstasy, ooh, 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 or trance. Ooh. Ecstasy or trance. Now my question is, we out here in Whitewater area, we tend to be practical people, right? Something's got to work. Okay. Well, is this going to work for us, the ecstasy or trance? For example, I've just been oohing and oohing in church, and I come out in the parking lot and I notice somebody has bashed my front fender and driven away. Now, which one of those oohs works? Is it ooh, or is it ooh, ooh, ooh? Maybe it's ugh. Okay, maybe that's the one that really works. But we pretended like that it doesn't exist, right? I mean, you have, you get the idea. What can we really take with us This works great when we're surrounded by Christian people, in a worship service, okay? And we're oohing and we're trancing and we're ecstasying and all this other stuff. But now church is over, okay? And the little baby, just dropped a bowl of oatmeal on the floor. Which one is that? Is that ooh, or is it? Now there are two situations where that does have a practical application, okay? Those, for example, and so you remember this, you can use these when this happens to you. You're in the kitchen, okay? You're cooking food. And, your child comes in and asks you something, you're temporarily distracted, and you burnt your finger on the stove. Ooh. No. Ooh, 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 ooh. That's the one you use, right? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sort of pain, but you're using ooh, ooh, ooh. Now, the other thing is you are, this might happen a little bit less often. You have won a trip, from the Christian raffle to Antarctica. and so you're, getting off the boat, this little rowboat, the ship pulls up as close as they can, but there's ice, it's dangerous, icebergs floating around, so get you off on a little rowboat, and you're, so you come up to the shore of Antarctica, and you're starting to step off the boat, and, your foot slips, and suddenly you feel something back here. Ooh. You have just backed into a cold, wet iceberg. Now you can use that ooh for that, okay? I'm just saying, think of the disconnect. What are we really giving people that they can take home with them?